The magic floating keyboard design meant to accompany the new iPad Pros initially caused a ton of attention and awe at the floating hinge design. I mean, no one can deny the iPad Pro looks gorgeous while it seems to float in midair while using this keyboard, unless of course you're a hater. What is easy to hate on is that price tag though, coming in at $299 for the 11-inch model and $349 for the 12.9-inch keyboard. Ouch, that's a steep price tag for those wanting to rock their iPad setup to mimic more of a MacBook feel. And now we feature an all new color, this ultra stealthy and sleek white color that looks really nice. Functionally, the coloring makes no difference. We still have our scissor style keys and trackpad to really make our iPad Pro setup feel like a laptop. There were rumors that this new white keyboard wouldn't work on older 12.9-inch models, but later in this video we'll take a closer look and see if the rumors are true. Whether you're in the market for buying a first-party keyboard to complete your iPad Pro setup, or you simply like watching tech videos of products you'll never buy, you're in luck because today we're going to unbox and review this all-new sexy white magic keyboard for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And before we start, it would mean the world to me if you hit that red subscribe button if you're a big tech fan like myself. Only about 7% of you guys that view my videos are subscribed, so I'd love to bring that number up so that my videos can reach more eyes and for more consumers to be educated before pulling the trigger on all of these expensive Apple products and accessories. No worries, we'll wait for you to exit full screen and hit the subscribe button with bells. While we wait, here's an adorable picture of my cat Bean staring at you until you do it. You've done it, yeah? Alright, let's start the show. Alright tech lovers, here it is, a rather large box for our all new Magic Keyboard in the all new white color. We can see we have Apple iPad Magic Keyboard branding with a full almost profile view of our all new keyboard. Flipping it to the back, we have some diagrams demonstrating that the keyboard has a modest angle of articulation for different viewing angles and is closed like a book to offer decent back and front drop protection while leaving 3 of the 4 sides exposed. On the bottom left, we also see that this keyboard is compatible with the iPad Pro 12.9-inch 3rd Gen, 4th Gen, and the all-new 5th Gen with M1. The smaller 11-inch Magic Keyboard is compatible with the 11-inch Pro 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Gen, and also includes compatibility for the newly redesigned 4th Gen iPad Air. We pull our tab that assists in an easy unboxing, open up the lid, and are first presented with our new Magic Keyboard wrapped in this frosted plastic, and opening it up reveals a plastic protector right in the middle to protect the keyboard during shipment. And there's a section in the plastic that houses our literature packet titled Designed by Apple in California that houses our basic warranty and product information guide, a quick start guide that shows you the different uses and how to attach the iPad to the keyboard, and that's all we get. There she is, the all new white Magic Keyboard. I must say, normally I tend to prefer darker colors for my accessories, but this white keyboard setup, especially with a silver iPad Pro, looks especially clean and extremely dope. Most laptops or hybrid tablets are either silver colored or black, so you'll definitely stand out with this one as it's a major flex already to pair it with the iPad Pro with that gorgeous floating design that allows you to have a physical keyboard with trackpad to navigate around iPadOS instead of relying on the software keyboard and all reliable, your index finger. But functionally, it is identical to the previous Magic Keyboard featuring our color-coded USB-C port for pass-through charging. That way you don't have to have the cable awkwardly dangling from the iPad once it's magnetically attached. It actually frees up the charging port on the iPad so that you can use different accessories like, I don't know, a USB-C SD card reader or something else. The material used for the keyboard is really similar to the same material found on prior iPad silicone cases, and I would even say is pretty similar in texture to your typical Apple branded silicone cases. This thankfully creates somewhat of a grip for those always on the go with their iPad Pro plus Magic Keyboard setup in hand. The keys have the same responsiveness and feel as does the scissor style keyboard found on the newer M1 Macs, and thankfully, Apple has decided to leave the butterfly style mechanism in the past. Good riddance. The 1mm travel feels bouncy and responsive, and I have no issues with the look and feel of the full-size keyboard. The keys are backlit, which comes especially in handy in scenarios where the ambient lighting is dimmer, but sadly there is no dedicated key on the keyboards to turn on the backlights like you typically do on your MacBooks. You can sort of control this in settings under hardware keyboard, but you will see a tiny warning saying keyboard backlight is automatically enabled when ambient lighting decreases and only kicks on if you move to an area with little lighting, and only then are you able to adjust the brightness. But it kind of sucks you can't just toggle it on or off on command. Strange little nitpick about this keyboard that I personally don't like and hope Apple can figure it out in future iterations. I don't know if it's a battery saving measure since no actual batteries are needed for this keyboard, nor do you have to charge it. It solely leaches off the battery of your iPad Pro and turns on automatically when you connect it magnetically to the keyboard with the smart connector and with the use of all those magnets found on the backside of your iPad Pro. There's also no function keys like you would see on a typical MacBook. Our multi-touch trackpad remains the same size regardless of whether you get the 11-inch Magic Keyboard or the 12.9-inch one, measuring in at 3.9 by 1.8 inches. That, yes, is on the smaller size, and I kind of wish the 12.9-inch would at least feature a bigger trackpad versus the smaller size. It only makes sense. I mean, take the MacBook Air versus the 16-inch MacBook Pro trackpads. They obviously differ in sizing due to a bigger or smaller chassis. It's just as responsive as before, and the one thing I do like about this trackpad versus the ones found on the Macs or MacBooks is that it actually is a real physical click and not a fake haptic click that is only possible thanks to those haptics found inside. It features some of the same gestures that your standard trackpad on a MacBook has. Use one finger to scroll around the iPad cursor, swipe two fingers up and down to scroll, swipe up using 3 fingers to go home, or swipe up but leave your fingers rested on the trackpad for a quick second to reveal the different app workspaces suspended in the memory, similar to how you swipe up to hold on an iPhone to see all of your most recent apps. Lastly, and one of my favorites that I find the most useful, swipe with 3 fingers horizontally to swipe between open apps. But when potentially wanting to replace your MacBook or laptop, you have to be wondering how this setup compares in terms of size and weight. And honestly, this keyboard and iPad Pro setup ends up being roughly about the same size as your standard MacBook Pro. And real quick, we'll dispel all the rumors. Yes, the previous 12.9-inch Magic Keyboard will work on the new 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro. Apple did confirm they are compatible, but if you watched my iPad Pro M1 12.9-inch review, you'll know that the M1 iPad is slightly thicker, so the fit might be a little more snug than usual due to the very slight increase in thickness and weight. And speaking of weight, the Magic Keyboard is heavier than the actual iPad Pros themselves, which is a huge factor to consider when considering purchasing a tablet plus keyboard setup. The 11-inch version of the Magic Keyboard weighs 601 grams, or roughly 1.3 pounds, while the 11-inch iPad Pro itself weighs 466 grams, or roughly 1.03 pounds. The 12.9-inch Magic Keyboard in comparison weighs 710 grams, or 1.6 pounds, while the 12.9-inch iPad Pro itself weighs 682 grams, effectively doubling the weight, and combined it weighs more than a MacBook Air and close to the weight of a 13-inch MacBook Pro. It also adds a good bit of thickness to the whole setup to the point that it's pretty close in thickness to the 16-inch MacBook Pro. Huge bummer. On the back, we can see our design has not changed. We still see our perfect cutout for our LiDAR camera module, the obligatory debossed Apple logo so you can walk into the classroom, library, or meeting flexing from the get-go, and our crease flanking it to the south, so that the keyboard may articulate the hinge to accommodate different viewing angles, which, speaking of, is about an 85 to 130 degree angle of articulation, which for most scenarios is okay, but I always find that in practice it is limited, and I always feel like it hits the limit in terms of viewing angle too soon and feels like it should be able to go farther, but doesn't. And our front is clean with no logos, no cutouts or anything. Just a solid white front that looks great on the silver iPad models, but will likely pick up dirt and grime a little quicker than the black one. In the end, it's your same Magic Keyboard from before with that gorgeous floating design, just now in an all new white color and slightly tweaked dimensions, only on the 12.9-inch keyboard to accommodate for the slight thickness to the M1 iPad Pro chassis. So if you already have the previous Magic Keyboard, there's almost no incentive to upgrade to this all new generation for the 12.9-inch keyboard unless you really want that white color or you're a perfectionist and the mismatched feel and fit due to the increased thickness truly annoys you. In that case, go ahead, but it is a very hard pill to swallow to dish out $300 plus for a keyboard to attach to an iPad so you can have that MacBook feel and experience. Do I think it's worth it? This one is a hard maybe, as it's way too much money for a keyboard in my opinion. Sure, it's sleek and modern looking, but again, it's just a keyboard with a pass-through USB-C port and rather tiny trackpad. Had this been priced at $149 and $199 for the 11-inch and 12.9-inch respectively, I'd be able to recommend it a lot more. But at this price point, you have to decide at that point whether a MacBook Air is better for your needs or workload. Not gonna lie, the keyboard plus iPad Pro setup is pretty gnarly, and most definitely feels like the future. But until iPadOS gets optimized to fully take advantage of the hardware, I'd say most people will be just fine opting for a MacBook Air instead. At least an Air will come standard with a keyboard included. That's been it, guys. Give me your thoughts down below, and as always, give this video a like if you found it useful or entertaining, and don't forget to hit that red subscribe button for future tech content just like this. Until next time, guys, peace.